All right, when you hear that music, you know what time it is, what is up, what's good, how's everybody doing?
We're doing good.
Thank you for listening. We are back. They haven't canceled us yet.
Not yet.
We want to say thank you. We hope you're all enjoying what you have been hearing so far, and we will continue to do our best to bring you a law enforcement perspective that you have never heard before. You're listening to the Triple C Podcast.
Triple
C in the house.
What does that stand for, EJ?
Cops communicating with the community.
Let them know. Before we jump into the show, we have to give credit where credit is due. We got to acknowledge this as episode 2.
Dos. Number 2.
So shout out to the number 2. A couple of things that are special about the number 2. That's Kawhi Leonard's number. Mm-hmm. Okay, he was the MVP of the NBA Finals, right? That's important. That's important. Kawhi.
Okay.
The claw, the hand. Come on now. You got a whole son and you don't know nothing about basketball, and you play basketball in college. Shame on you.
Did she play though? Really?
I know. That's why you know she was on that bench.
I don't think she did.
She played the position get back.
I was so good I couldn't worry about anybody else.
Get back on that bench is the position she played. All right. The number 2.
I couldn't worry about nobody else.
The number 2 is also considered lucky in China. It's a lucky number in China, right?
Okay.
Twins.
I'm a twin, by the way. Shout out to
There
my
you
twin.
go.
Shout out to my twin.
See, he's a twin.
Shout out.
Number
Dose.
2. All right.
Deuces.
Twix comes. 2 Twixes.
Oh, I love your frozen
Some people remember when Twix came out. Ain't that right, officer?
It was only one Twix when she was around. It started off as one, and then
John
they
looked like a
went
Twix.
to 2.
Whatever. I've been in the weight room. Whatever.
Swole Twix. You do got the veins.
Appreciate you, man.
All right. And then, like my mama always told me, you have 2 ears and 1 mouth, so you can listen twice as much as you talk.
So be quiet, John.
Number 2.
Jay will need to be quiet.
My bad. I'm listening.
So moving forward, this episode and every episode is brought to you by the Houston Police Department and Pet Peeves.
All right, pet peeves. Oh, this is my favorite subject.
That's your favorite one? I like
my
cop
favorite
stories, but pet peeves is fun too.
Pet peeve is fun.
Episode 2's pet peeve is, drum roll please, bad cop jokes.
Oh, God.
And an example of that would be, I didn't do it, officer. It wasn't me. When you walk into a store. Have you ever had that happen before?
I have. And I just walked in, man. I'm just trying to get some bread, man. That's it. I didn't come in looking for you. And it's so funny. A lot of people, when they see the police, they think we have to look for them. We really be minding our own business and just want to take care of our own business, man. We're not looking for nothing going on.
But how about that one? Oh, you looking for that one right there? He right there. Take that one. Take that one right there. Take that one.
It was the one next to me, officer. It wasn't even me. It was him. It was him.
How about that? Oh, officer, you could take me to jail anytime.
I never
John,
got that.
I
just got married. I never got that one.
Uh-huh,
I never got that. I plead the 5th on that one.
There you go. Good job. Stay married.
Oh, Lord. So last show he was married 30 minutes. Now he's been married 45.
Yeah.
He's pleading the 5th. Okay. Yeah. So we definitely want to let our listeners know. Most of these jokes that you guys come up with when you walk into establishments, businesses, anywhere, we've all heard them before.
Yes.
It's not the first time.
They're very lame.
I mean, of course, we're going to acknowledge you. We're not going to be rude. We're going to be, oh, man, that was a good one. Yeah, that was a good one.
What about the donuts, man? Y'all want some donuts?
Yeah. I don't even eat them. I like kolaches.
I'm a kolache guy, too, man.
I'm a little bougie. It's okay, though. All right. Now, moving forward from pet peeves, because that's always fun. That's how we start the show off. That's what the show is brought to you by. We're going to kind of give you a quick recap of episode 1, just to kind of refresh your memory. Just like when you're watching the show on Netflix, they remind you what happened in the show before. We gave you an introduction into law enforcement culture on a last name basis, why we call each other by last names, right? Our pet peeve last show was parents using cops to scare their kids when they enter a store.
I hope they haven't been doing that.
I hope they listen. I hope they listen to that first episode, man.
Yeah, me too. We provided you background on all of your hosts. Again, I'm Officer Lahar. This is J. Will, Officer Williams, and we have
Officer EJ.
EJ Joseph.
Senior officer.
Senior.
Thank you.
Citizen
Put some
officer.
respect on my senior.
Put some respect on it.
We finished or we done? Okay. So we answered the question, what made you choose a career in law enforcement? We all took turns answering that. And then we broke down the show segments and what you can expect from the Triple C podcast going forward. We covered police and citizen interaction when it comes to traffic stops, disturbances, and just overall interaction as a whole. And we wrapped up the show with our cop story segment, which I love. And we had Officer Laster come in and give his amazing story and his account of him saving that lady from that burning car.
Yeah,
So that was awesome. Yeah. And if this is your first time joining us, you haven't had an opportunity to hear the cop story segment, we would encourage you to go back and listen to that one because that was a good one. Also, as a reminder, we'll be bringing you a different cop story every episode, including this one. So please stay tuned. Now, For episode 2, we're going to jump into what to expect from us real quick. Our What's Up HPD segment, we will be interviewing Senior Police Officer David Lopez. We have him in the house. We're going to have him come and talk to us. He works in the department's Patrol Tactics and Officer Safety Training Division. And he's going to talk to us about the importance of officers continuing to sharpen their skills when it comes to officer safety. We will also have him shed light on the significant correlation between the benefits of officers learning to mix martial arts, grappling, with officer safety. How that's important, how it ties into each other, right? He's going to tell us how some of the things that he's been doing. He's traveled abroad, done a lot of awesome things, has a lot of awesome experience and knowledge to share with us. So
he's going to show us how to use them hands.
The hands
on you.
A little bit more than that, man, from what I see him out there doing. Okay. We will be speaking to Senior Officer Josephine Jones of the Houston Police Department Recruiting Division.
Yes.
And she will be here to break down the process of applying to join HPD all the way to completion of the police academy. She also will be answering commonly asked questions regarding recruiting, how to get on, what to expect.
So please listen. She's going to have some really good information that you guys will be able to take, and you won't have to ask us. You'll get it from this episode.
Yep.
And you can listen to it over and over and over
and over
again on
again.
our
Share
podcast.
it, subscribe, like,
That's right.
please. In our community safety segment, we will be focusing on online dating safety as the subject of discussion. We will then introduce the listeners to our Feet on the Street program that will cover this topic in more of a lighthearted manner. We're then going to wrap up the show with our Cop Story segment as we interview Officer Robert Arriaga of the Houston Police Department. So now what you know to expect from episode 2, let's jump into it like double dutch, okay?
Hey,
all right, let's jump. Let's jump. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to jump right on into our relational policing segment. So I'm going to pass it on over to Officer EJ, and I'm going to let her introduce our first guest.
Thank you, y'all. I am so excited to have our next guest, in the house. She is super knowledgeable about the hiring process for HPD.
Okay.
I think that she is one of the best recruiters for the department. And I'm a little biased. You know why?
Why you biased?
Because she's my sister. So welcome, Officer Josephine Jones, to the show.
Thank you for
C
coming.
Podcast. Yes, very happy to be here.
You know, we brought your name up a few times the last podcast. I think we kind of messed up on that age of what the age requirement was.
She
was
listens.
close.
So if y'all had some people call trying to join the department and
had
they was
some
about
49
50
years.
years
44
old.
and a half.
Yeah.
That's
Trying to
what we
get
came
in.
up
Yeah,
with.
that was our fault. We
That's
did
okay.
that.
It's 44. The age limit is 44. 44
All
and a
right.
half.
44.
So, no.
Yeah.
So it's 44 and a half?
Yeah, because you can be 44 and a half. The hiring the academy is 6 months. So within that 6 months time, you cannot have turned 45. You can turn 45 the day after you receive your badge, but you cannot be 45 years old in the academy.
So there's math involved. Is what
There's
you're telling me.
definitely
Okay, I can't
math
work up
involved.
there.
So if Jay Will wants to apply now,
Jay
he
Will is past
40,
the age requirement.
We got jokes. Okay,
EJ
we
with the
got
old joke.
jokes.
That's a new one.
On me.
Good
I
try.
know, right? It's crazy.
I know when my hair grow in, I do look 45 years old, though. You're right.
Yeah, so the age is actually, you can be 20 and a half. So when you're going through the academy, in order for you to raise your right hand and take your oath, you have to be 21. So in the academy, when you go in at the age of 20 and a half, during that 6 month period, you will have to be 21.
Okay, well, look at her. She ready to jump into it. We ain't even really got a chance to go ahead.
Oh,
Get
no.
your sister out here. Get your
No.
sister out here.
So, I just wanted to talk about, my sister being on the police department. I've been on for 18 years. She's been on for
12. I'm working on 13.
But who wanted to be a police officer first?
I did.
What?
I always knew I was going to be a police officer. And listening to your last podcast, I just had the chuckle because it was really funny how that story all came about.
Okay.
I knew for sure I was going to be military police. So I was going to go to college and I was going to be the military police. That was my plan.
Okay.
And then after military policing, I was going to be a Houston police officer.
Oh, you knew exactly what you wanted to do,
Yes.
where you wanted to go. Okay, that's awesome.
I
had no idea.
I didn't know anyone at the time that was a Houston police officer.
Okay.
Okay.
Until one day she comes home and she says, "Hey y'all, I'm joining the Houston Police."
Oh, no.
she
She
ain't
done
gonna tell
stole
nobody.
your
She ain't
flame.
told
So she
nobody
stole
nothing.
everything. So
I had to come on first, so I could let her know what was going to be going on in the
That's
police
dirty.
department and how to
'Cause you was
apply
big
and everything.
sister.
Exactly.
Had to dip your toe in the
I had-
water and let her know if it was too
I was
hot, too
taking
cold.
care of my
Okay.
little sister.
I got you.
At the
know?
time, because we are competitive in a good way.
Okay.
In a sibling way. I felt like, and it was a maturity thing actually, but we can't have the same career. There's
Okay.
no way we're going to have the same career. So I actually spent about 7
She
years
drug her feet.
at a previous job that I loved. I've only had 2 jobs. One was the YMCA. I was a director there.
Awesome.
And then I was talking to her one day, and she told me I was having a hard day at work, and she was like, "Hey,
always having a hard day.
you do realize that anything you work over 8 hours, you can get paid for it here."
Because she was on salary.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was
So-
salaried.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
Well, we're
So,
glad
tell-
you joined and everything. And go ahead. Let's get into it. EJ, get out
so
here.
tell us some of the requirements for.
The basic requirements, so there are a few requirements that you have to meet in order for you to even give us your application.
Okay.
Okay. And we just discussed the age as being one. But in order for you to go and be a good applicant,
Okay.
you have to have at least 48 college credit hours.
Okay.
If you don't have 48 credit hours, or if you're not at least, if you haven't served in the military for at least 18 months.
Okay.
So
With
you
an
can-
honorable discharge.
With,
right?
with an honorable discharge.
Okay.
Or at least 3 years of police experience.
Okay.
Okay? So those 3 ways. We just added a 4th one, which I think is really cool, and it's going to help a lot of people.
Okay. What's that?
So it's going to be your 36 months of employment. We don't specify the job that you have to work, but if you've worked for at least 36 months in the last 48 months, you can join our department.
Do you hear that, listeners? That's a big deal because before it was either you had the college hours
Or the
or
police.
you had the prior police or you was military.
Yes.
Now it's opening it up to people who may have wanted to be a police
Yes.
officer like you did when you were growing up, but they just chose to go a different route and they didn't realize that that's what they wanted to do when they became an adult. And now they're like, hey, I've been working at the YMCA for 4 years. I've been working in corporate America for 5 years, for 3 years. Now you qualify to come on in and go ahead and submit your paperwork, and you can tell them what else they need to do.
At least, so that's 36 months of full-time employment.
Now, what if you own your own business?
Ooh.
If you own your own business,
What if you own your own business?
you can. That's a job. You pay taxes. You'll be able to show us that you've actually had your own business, working full time. Obviously, if you own your own business, as long as you can show us some supporting documentation that you own your business, you've paid your taxes, and
Okay.
you're doing. Yeah.
Now, it has to be a legal job, right?
Yeah, man.
We would prefer,
Oh,
and
okay.
that's the only way you would actually get to raise that right hand and
Okay.
take that oath.
Gotcha.
Now,
Gotcha.
owning your own business, we don't mean selling cool cups and pickles out your grandma's house, okay? We're talking legitimate business where you had to turn in your taxes at the end of the year.
Gotcha.
Yes.
So, I know that a lot of people ask, like, you have to have good credit. Does that mean, like, I have to have an 800 credit score in order to join the police department?
That does not mean you have to have a 800 credit score. When we say good credit, we're saying that you can't have any bills in collections.
Okay.
Okay.
And people
makes sense.
don't really understand what that means. And if you don't understand what it means to have bills and collections, guess
That means
what?
you ain't paid your.
Well, that means that you don't have any bills. and collections. That usually means, because when people are asking that question, what does it mean to have good credit? That means that you can't have any bills in collection. They're like, well, that means that's a good thing. You probably don't have any bills in
Okay.
collection.
Or you just don't care. You don't
Or
check
you
your
just
mail.
don't care.
You
Credit
just-
But
score.
yeah,
just throw
we're
it
looking
away.
for you to be able to show us that you are responsible about paying your obligations.
That makes sense.
Gotcha.
Okay.
That makes
So
sense.
Makes you
we're not looking
trustworthy.
at your credit score. We're looking at, do you have any bills and collections? If so, in order for you to go through our hiring process, those have to be resolved.
Okay.
We would need a letter from your from the institution or whatever it is saying that you're in good standing.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Cool. So, July 17th, did y'all know July 17th was National Tattoo Day?
Didn't know that.
I did.
Okay.
Nice.
Didn't know that.
So, speaking of tattoos, I was thinking about getting another tattoo.
Okay.
What is the policy on tattoos for the Houston Police Department?
The Houston Police Department, and this is something that I guess it's been in action for a while, but you can have tattoos. You can have visible tattoos.
Okay.
All tattoos are going to be reviewed on a case-by-case basis.
Gotcha.
But tattoos on your neck, that's a no-go. You can never have that. Tattoo on your face, you can never have those. Tattoos on your hands, never.
Okay.
But you can have tattoos from your wrist they call them a sleeve if you would like.
Yeah.
You can have tattoos that are visible.
It wasn't always like that, though.
No.
That recently just changed, because I know before you had officers out here in this Houston heat wearing a long sleeve
Absolutely.
cotton
Yeah.
police uniform because they had tattoos that would be visible.
Yes.
And good thing that's one of the things I love that Chief Acevedo came in and
Yes.
changed, man.
Yeah.
And because I have tattoos that are visible, and it's just you have to adapt with the times. And it's
Absolutely.
not 1991 anymore. Like
Yeah.
everybody has tattoos, and everybody that has tattoos don't work at a tattoo parlor,
Yeah.
or they're not in the bike game. So like
Yeah.
it's
That
okay
that
now.
stigma is definitely changing.
Yeah, that's
So
over.
just
That's
keep them
over.
above your wrist, and you can you meet our requirement.
Okay.
All right. So if somebody wanted to go through the hiring process or apply to be a Houston police officer, where would they go?
You're going to go to hpdcareer.com. I've always encouraged people to go to our website, only because when you're reading this information, you're getting a better understanding for yourself. I'm definitely available. I'm Officer Jones. You can call to our recruiting office, our division, and we'll be more than happy to talk to you. But hpdcareer.com, and also remember, you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter
Okay.
at hpdcareer.com.
They everywhere.
Yeah.
The Houston Police Department's hiring. We're always hiring. We have academy classes about every 2.5 to 3 months.
Okay.
Our hiring process takes about 90 to 180 days. So please look us up. Go to our website. If you have any questions or concerns, again, I'm Officer Jones. Give me a call. This
Okay.
is my job to help.
Awesome.
I know one thing. A lot of family men and women are looking at. Do you get paid to go to our academy?
Oh, absolutely, you get paid. We did a video saying don't waste your time and don't waste your money, because the Houston Police Department does not require you to have a TCO license. So a Texas Commission on Law Enforcement license, we don't require that. And not only do we not require that, but we're going to pay you to go through our police academy.
Shut your mouth.
You are a Houston
You
police
mean-
cadet, and you're getting a paycheck every 2 weeks.
You get paid.
And benefits.
Getting
That
paid.
is
getting paid.
amazing.
Yeah,
That's
it
amazing.
is
So,
definitely.
one of the questions I get from people when they're interested in trying to join is, one, they don't know that they get paid, and two, do y'all have to live on site at the academy? What are some of the questions that you've gotten that are the craziest ones? Like, do you live on site and everything?
Yeah, I guess I don't view any questions that's crazy, because
Okay.
I'm in the recruiting division. It's my job to know all this information, and it's my job to put it out there to the community.
right.
So I always like to say there's no crazy questions.
Oh, got you.
But we have people that will come to us and say, well, I don't have any college hours. I don't meet the requirement as far as the job, but is there any other way I can get on? I don't view that as crazy. I just view that as uninformed.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a
You
difference.
can't join the police department if you don't have at least one of those 4 requirements
Yeah,
met.
that makes sense.
So, and people try to question the age thing a lot, and they give us a hard time about the age, but that's the requirement. You have
Some
to be
people look
between the
young like
ages
me.
of 21 and 44.
This is
Yeah.
radio; they can't see.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, a crazy question. I can't necessarily think of one at the top of my head, but
Okay.
I really don't view any questions as crazy. They're just ill-informed, and that's why I always encourage you to go to hpdcareer.com.
Okay. And so, go to everywhere that she just said. They're all over all social media platforms. But just to kind of wrap up, once you go in, you do get paid, like Jay Will said, like Officer Jones said. But you're going to be in the academy for 6 months, like she
Yes.
alluded to earlier. Then you're going to go on the street for 6 months on the job training, where you'll be
Yes.
partnered up with FTO, a field training officer. They don't just throw you in the grease. You go out there, they walk you through how to handle each one of those calls, how to write those reports, and then once they determine you've been evaluated, then you go out there and you're on your own. Okay, so we
Yeah.
just don't want people to know that you get hired, you do 6 months, and then you're a police officer. That's not the way it goes at all.
And the great thing that I always tell people is that the academy gets you ready to be a police officer. But I came from the YMCA. I was all about Young Men's Christian Association, caring, faith, responsibility. I didn't know anything really about being a police officer and what it would entail. But I tell you what, going through that 6-month academy, they break it down and show you everything and give you a really great understanding of what to expect. So when you leave the academy with a pretty good understanding of what you're gonna experience on the streets.
I agree because like everybody is coming from different
Yes.
backgrounds. Some criminal justice, some with YMCA,
Yes.
some without. But they're going to get you right. We appreciate you for coming
Thank
in.
y'all for
Thank you
having
for
me.
coming,
Keep doing a
and
great
sharing
job.
that information with us.
Yes, keep
Officer
doing a great
Jones,
job.
we appreciate it. Okay.
Thank y'all for having us.
All right.
hpdcareer.com.
Thank you.